Vaheguru Ji Ka Khalsa, Vaheguru Ji Ki Fateh. Welcome to Khalistān, Origins of a Nation, a show brought to you by the National Sikh Youth Federation, an organisation created to educate on all matters regarding Sikh political history. My name is Ranveer Singh and I'll be your host throughout the series. We'll be exploring the origins and narratives of Sikh sovereignty. Khalistān is one of the most talked about yet least understood topics within the Sikh community. It's discussed amongst Sikh academics, families sitting at home, and colleagues at work. It is a topic of the people. I'm joined today and throughout the series by our resident panel and co-founders of the National Sikh Youth Federation. Starting to my left, we have Shamsher Singh, an activist and writer, a student of Sikh political history and its relation to the Sikh revolution. Next to him, we have Jagjit Singh, a researcher on the Karku Lehar and the Sikh Sangharsh. He is currently working on a book documenting the fighters of the Sikh resistance movement. And finally, we have Ranveer Singh, who has first-hand experience working with Shaheed Parvars in his capacity as Khalsa Aid trustee, who is also currently working on a book about Sikh political history. So let's begin. Khalistān was declared in 1986. What is the significance of this?
The decision that was made in 1986 was to set the political objective of the Sikh nation, and that was to establish the Panthic mandate, which was for the Sikh nation to pursue an independent Sikh homeland, Khalistān. The decision that was made was a representative decision. Over 500,000 Sikhs came together to make this decision in the form of a Sarbat Khalsa, one of the apparatus of political sovereignty of the Sikh nation. Today it feels as if anyone can talk about this topic without much authority, and it feels like the narrative that they're representing is that of the Indian government and the media. Our objective is to reconnect the viewers with the Panthic Sikh narrative and to translate our history from 1986 Punjab in Punjabi to today.
If we look at today, there's a lot of talk about Khalistān, but not much is said. And what I mean by that is that there isn't much substance in the discussion. It's a mix of basic sloganeering on one side and false propaganda on the other. The topic is usually brought about in June, but there isn't sincere discussion throughout the year. And one of the reasons for that is that there isn't a suitable or willing platform for meaningful discussion. If we look at today on where discussions of Khalistān take place, it's mainly social media. However, you can't condense the history of Khalistān to 150 characters.
Agreed.
The other platforms that the discussion takes place on is media outlets such as the BBC Asia Network. And here you'll have presenters like Nahal discussing the topic of Khalistān in a manner which trivializes it, makes it a mockery. He'll give air to ill-informed or ignorant voices, most of whom are anonymous. And this is simply done to just create sensationalism in order to just have people tune in.
And that's why it's so important to have shows like this, to reiterate the point about bringing the issue home. We need to reconnect the Sikh Panth with its own narrative. It's a serious political issue for us. It's all encompassing. It's about nationhood. It's about home. It's about belonging. And at the crux of all of that, it's about Sikh sovereignty. It's our current political movement to realise our homeland. And the future of the Panth and Punjab will be determined by our relationship with Khalistān today.
These are all really important points, and I think they all stem from the origin question, which was the declaration of Khalistān in 1986 at the Sarbat Khalsa. So let's explore that further.
To understand the Sarbat Khalsa, at its core, we have to understand Sikh sovereignty. When the Mughal government offered Darbara Singh Nawabi, his response was Ham Padshahi Satgur Dei Hanne Hanne Lai Jahan Jahan Be Zameen Mal Tahan Tahan Takht Bataye. And at the center of his response is this philosophy of Sikh sovereignty that was ingrained within the Sikh. So when the Sarbat Khalsa came together, it was a representative gathering of the entire Sikh nation. The Gurus invested the power of the institution within every individual Sikh. So when they came together, it was more than a deliberative assembly. This was the political makeup, the political institutions of the Sikh nation. The first Sarbat Khalsa was held by Guru Gobind Singh, and since then till 1986 we've only ever had 7. And these are massive events when the entire Sikh Panth is represented and decisions are made of purely political and economic basis, and they set the direction for the Panth. They set the mandate. This is the nishana of our Qawm, of our nation. This is our objective. This is what we're going to achieve. And that's the idea behind the Sarbat Khalsa. So it's not something we can take lightly. It's the highest level of political involvement and institution that we have within the Sikh nation.
And it's great you mentioned that point. You say the significance of this event, and Ranveer, if you could perhaps elaborate on just how important the Sarbat Khalsa is for our community.
I mean, if we just take the number of people that actually turned out to that event, 500,000 people across Punjab travelled to the Akal Takht, and this was at a time when a curfew had been imposed by the state, which was essentially a shoot on sight curfew. And so what these people did was they put their lives on the lines and you know, turned up in mass numbers to show that actually we are going to show our solidarity for Khalistān. So that in itself is a huge factor to bear in mind whilst discussing the Sarbat. And secondly, the Sarbat Khalsa, historically, it cannot be changed by any individual, any organisation affiliated to the Panth, or any Jathedar for that matter, because it was decided by the people. So only another representative gathering of the nation can alter the Sarbat, but till date that hasn't occurred. So the events and the mandate that came out of 1986 still stands strong today.
That's an important point to reiterate, Ranveer, that since 1986 the Panth has not come together again for Sarbat Khalsa. So if Jagjit Singh, if we could explore further the decisions that were made at the 86 gathering.
Well, a number of decisions were made at the Sarbat Khalsa of 1986, and these decisions were made to liberate the Panth from internal infiltration and corruption, but also to direct it towards homeland, Khalistān.
Right.
So the current Jathedar, who was Gyani Kirpal Singh, he was removed from his post because he had complied with the Indian government and he wasn't deemed suitable for such a high post. Gurdev Singh Konke, by Gurdev Singh Konke, a revolutionary Guru Sikh, was chosen and elected for that position instead. The SGPC was disbanded, and Sikh political leadership at the time, such as Badal and Tora and the rest of them, were defined as traitors. They were declared traitors to the Sikh Panth. And in this vacuum that the Panth had created now for Sikh leadership, a 5-member Panthic committee was formed that was to steer the Panth towards Khalistān and resolve all political affairs. Furthermore, the Khalistān Commando Force, the legendary Sikh freedom fighting group, was set up at the Sarbat Khalsa, and General Manbir Singh Cheheru was elected as their Jathedar. And this organisation was set up to liberate and defend Khalistān. But under the mandate for Khalistān, many other Sikh military units were set up following this.
And Ranveer, is it something that still applies today then?
It certainly does, yeah. I mean, like I mentioned earlier, the Sarbat Khalsa can only be changed or altered by another Sarbat Khalsa. Until date, in the last 30 years, that hasn't occurred. You know, we've had certain sections, certain organisations that have perhaps taken another route, but effectively at the very top of it, it hasn't been altered, so it still applies today.
So would it be fair to say, Singhs, that it's still the political objective today?
100%,
Yeah,
yes.
definitely.
Great. Well, thank you. We leave you in 1986 at the Sarbat Khalsa. 500,000 Sikh have pledged to wage war against the state to achieve Khalistān. Over the series, we'll explore in more detail the concepts of Sikh sovereignty. The next episode, we'll be looking at the next 3 decades, starting with the launching of the Civil War. We'll be joined by other expert guests from around the world to shed unprecedented light on the topic of Khalistān. We want you to be a part of this journey with us. Please like, share and subscribe. We'll see you on the next episode. Vaheguru Ji Ka Khalsa, Vaheguru Ji Ki Fateh.